Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company, where a group of old friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of this group of mystery boxes wrapped in enigmas, smothered in riddles. Group of mystery boxes wrapped in enigmas, smothered in riddles. Please introduce yourselves and give the audience one fun fact about your characters.
I am Alex, and I'm playing Augustus. And my fact this week is that when Augustus was 17 and unbelievably full of himself, even by current standards, he asked a beautiful young woman to dance at a ball. As the woman came from a relatively unimportant family, he assumed she would be delighted, even honoured. But she said no, and instead told him that she suspected his pampered upbringing had rendered him absolutely useless. This simple statement has lodged itself in Augustus's very soul.
That's a good fact.
Struggling to find an angle on that.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Feel kind of sympathetic.
And that is in no way autobiographical.
There it is.
There in the mirror before starting the podcast.
Damn it, school disco 1997.
Hi, I'm Harry. I'm playing Tock. Tock has been considering that following the train heist, the party needs some new false personas whilst they remain in Slateholm. Tock's current suggestions are Human Individual 1, Human Individual 2, Human Individual 3, Automaton Unit 1.
I love it.
I absolutely love it.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I tell you what, one thing that's good about that is at least we'll probably be able to keep track of who's who.
I actually think those are more believable personas than the ones we came up with last time.
Obviously, we'll be fighting about who gets to be human number 1.
Exactly.
Should I be taking this as a shot against my awesome names I came up with?
No, they're really good. Well done. Well done, buddy.
I mean, Radagard Sloom has no issues with the names. Lord Sloom is happy.
Hello, I'm Dave, and I am playing Benny. Benny has a recurring dream that he is in the orphanage where he grew up, and he is walking through the orphanage at night, and he finds a secret room, and he moves a book on the bookcase, and the door slides open, and as he raises his lantern to see what's in the room, he awakes.
That's superb. My God.
Thanks.
What is going on, people? What is going on?
Investigation check. What's in the room? What's in the room? Arcana.
It's magic.
Yeah.
So now we're going to hear some of Vander's dreams.
We are once again, by hook or by crook, on you guys having hit on 3 superb facts.
And the tail end batsman steps up.
Here he comes.
Dream about apricots and dogs coming up.
Ali Googled fun facts 10 minutes ago.
Google never fails. Hello, my name is Charlie. I play Vander Finnick. A fun fact about Vander Finnick. When he was growing up, as part of his schooling, he spent some time in a small town and he had his first drink, realized that he quite liked the creature and got quite merry. Unfortunately for him, he got on the wrong side of the law and was momentarily arrested for breaching the peace. Luckily for Vander, the night watch were distracted and he was able to make his escape. But the only thing nearby was a pig. So in this small town, he is both wanted for breaching the peace and stealing a pig.
I didn't know where that ending was going.
Yeah, no, it wasn't going to get really sinister. I saw the collective facial reactions of everyone. I thought, should I have stolen other lives?
I mean, I think that's the facial reactions of 4 people who are absolutely convinced that the podcast has just lurched towards bestiality.
Congratulations. That is the perfect round of intros from you guys. I mean, we might actually have to retire this as a bit going forward because I don't think we're going to top that.
I prepared another 5.
That's fine. We're not going to retire the bit. We don't like change.
And we're not creative enough to retire the bit.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd have to think of something else to replace it with.
Got nothing.
I don't think anyone wants to hear our options 2 and 3, which are haikus and rap battles.
Why would you put that out there? Now people are going to demand both of those things.
I feel like rap battles has legs.
When you say people, do you mean Chris from North London?
Chris from North London will be all over the rap battles from this.
I bet.
Anyway, let's get stuck into the next chapter of Dice Company. Last time on Dice Company, you ransacked the steamrunner of anything and everything you could find, opted not to attack a bounder called Angus MacLeod, found an invisibility potion, and escaped. Alighting near the steamrunner man's inn, you walked in the pouring rain back to Slateholm. A quick visit to Gearhead's led to the revelation that she had not yet obtained the Jurema wood you need to fix the sterling. Hoping to avoid being recognised, you visited the Tipsy Tinker to spend some gold. A report in the Ovik Observer informed you that the Empire was no longer looking for you. After a few ales, Vander revealed a sad story about his past. Toasting one another, you spent the rest of the evening in the Tinker before heading to bed for a well-deserved rest. You awaken in the morning on the first day of Gladden, the 6th month of the Alestian year. With spring finally starting to draw to a close, you all return to the now empty bar for a full cooked breakfast and some fresh tea. Everyone please remove 6 silver from your coin purses. Outside, the torrential rain continues to smash down on the city, creating a darker than normal atmosphere. What would you like to do?
I would like to enjoy my breakfast and finish reading the paper that I didn't manage to finish last night because Vander got so emotional about the first article we came across.
Otherwise known as character development to the emotionally gifted among us.
Well. So, please may I see if there's any other interesting articles in the newspaper?
You absolutely can. The main headline on the now 2-day-old Ovik Observer is The Steamrunner's Maiden Launch. Ingenious and inventive gnomish builders today launched their long-awaited mode of transportation, the Steamrunner. Like an enormous stagecoach, the Steamrunner can transport large quantities of people through the mountainous lands of Ovik, with ease previously thought unachievable without an airship. Large parts of the Steamrunner were created and crafted by a local philanthropist who has been earmarked for a commendation by both the Tam Race Foundation and the Emperor himself. It may have taken years to build, but the future of transportation could be just around the corner. The gnomish people of Ovik have, for some time, been looking for a way to return to the good graces of the Emperor. The Steamrunner may just be the ticket, and all eyes will be focused on a successful launch.
On the reading front, I've got some books to hand out. And not that I'm starting a book club, but I do have some books. So I think I'm going to hand Fluffington to Benny, because it's about dogs. I'm going to hand Ghost Stories to Augustus. And Tock gets the third book.
The title of which you definitely remember.
I do remember it, but it's for you to read.
The Forgotten Children of Corlar Vale by Jingo Merrychap.
If we're having a literary morning, anyone here read a bit of Elvish?
I can read that language.
Yes, me too.
Good news. I got a map. I discovered a map while we were on the Steamrunner. See if you can have a look, because I don't understand the language, but I do understand a big X, which appears to mark a spot.
Indeed, X's on maps are often used to mark a location.
Renowned for it. Yeah, would you mind reading Elvish on this and see what you reckon? And I roll out the map in front.
Okay, Tock will provide translation for everyone.
So the map shows details of the topography of the mountain of Grodsank here. As Benny highlighted, there is a small X next to a cave entrance. Scrawled in writing in Elvish are the words Morenial Afer Sehan, which Tock handily translates to the Tomb of the Wanderer.
He completely butchers the accent, though.
Vander leads in.
Gentlemen, I think maybe we might have to cancel book club this morning. It seems that it may be worth a trek.
Huge disappointment for anyone who wanted to hear fictional characters discuss fictional books.
Can I have history checks from everyone, please?
15 for me.
6 for me.
7 for Tock.
24 for Augustus.
Benny and Augustus. The Wanderer's Tomb is a location of myth allegedly housing the final resting place of Elias the Wanderer. There are no official references to his existence in any verified historical documents, but still the legend has persevered. Many have wasted and even lost their lives in the pursuit of it. It is said that Elias, arguably the most prominent figure of renown in the history of Alestia, constructed this elusive sanctuary over 8 centuries ago, imbuing it with enigmatic secrets and guarding it from prying eyes. He also filled it with powerful artifacts and wealth from his near-century-long wanderings. Its precise whereabouts has eluded scholars, adventurers, and historians alike. You know that the last verified sighting of Elias was actually in the far east in the lands of Silveria. leading many to think that his tomb would be located there.
Gentlemen, I recognise the name The Tomb of the Wanderer. I believe there's a poem which I could recite for you if you'd like to hear it.
Please go on, friend.
What could be nicer than a bit of poetry at breakfast?
Probably silence, but here I go.
Thought it'd cross my mind.
Beneath the earth a tomb of old, Elias the Wanderer's secrets hold, his sorcerer's might a beacon bright, a treasury of knowledge, of endless light. Yet beware the shadows that do deceive, false places where tricksters weave. Choose the path with utmost care, Elias' true legacy lies hidden there. To jump in with, I imagine, what Vander probably ought to be saying, finish your breakfast, it sounds like we're going grave robbing.
Excellent.
Vander takes a really grotesquely large bite of breakfast.
Before we go chasing after treasure and getting ourselves killed, delightful heartfelt moment from Vander last night. Are we going to take any steps to help Kaelin?
He is a significant distance from us in Ovik.
Right, that is true. But we've now got a contact, I suppose, someone who might be able to get in touch with him or tell us more about his situation. How do you feel about reaching out to Lady Morticia, Vander? I appreciate that might be a sensitive issue.
It's not Kaelin I have my concerns for. Kaelin has always been able to take care of himself. These situations aren't new to him. It's Morticia.
She is not Rojan.
She is not.
Well, with all, with the greatest respect for your feelings for Lady Morticia, I've never met her, and I don't feel like I owe her out. So I'm less bothered now, to be honest.
Your input, Benny, as ever, is meaningless.
I'll remind you of that next time you want someone to creep forwards into what you suspect might be a death trap.
Vander smiles.
You have been very useful on the creeping front, haven't you?
And to be fair, we almost always know it's a death trap. Vander, what gives you the impression the lady may be in danger? Because the newspaper article didn't say that, I don't think.
It's not what the newspaper article said, but what it implied, Augustus. I, as you know Morticia well from days past, and she is well known to me as someone who is outspoken about her views. If she's begun to appear in the paper, even vocally against the Empire, time will be short before further actions may be taken. Kaelin is used to this. Morticia is not.
Very well. Well, I agree with both of you to some extent, Benny and Vander. We perhaps might help both of these people who would both benefit from being whisked away from the Empire's care. The question is, how on earth do we get anywhere near them?
We need rare wood, riches, and the resources to get there.
The Empire may be watching for our airship, the Sterling.
Possible, true. I don't think that now is the right moment. As things are, I believe Kaelin can take care of his own affairs, and we do not stand to improve his lot by attending his location, wherever that may be. And Morticia, as yet, doesn't appear to be in danger.
And isn't our problem.
Thank you, Benny.
While you're having the discussion and being needled very gently by Benny.
Not that gently.
Not that gently, no. I was trying to play diplomat. I won't bother in the future. Vander, you begin to overhear a slightly heated discussion. You hear about the ungovernables? Killed they was. All of them. Last night. Wasn't all of them. Bardal got away, fought his way out of town. Not that impressive, is it? I mean, bounders round here, they're not exactly champion pit fighters, are they? Maybe not, but they managed to kill his little group, didn't they? True, but come on, they're not going to bring down Bardal, are they? I mean, he's 3-time Slateholm Silver Sword winner, and they don't just give that award to someone just because they're handsome. You sure about that? Oh, don't start with all that again. By Rollergold's name, I saw him beat 3 of Slateholm's finest fighters at once. Yeah, but they were gnomes. He's a human. So, still 3-on-1, wasn't it? You're an idiot. Eat your breakfast.
As scintillating as your conversation is, Benny,
And Vander slides from the table and moves in the direction of the conversation, approaching the two men.
did someone mention handsome?
And Vander smiles.
Oh, yeah, we're just talking about Bardal Schultz and the Ungovernables.
Oh, yes. What about them?
Oh, they were all killed. Well, not Bardal, but the rest of them were all killed last night by bounders.
How terrible.
Vander says, not looking like it was terrible.
Are you a fan?
Of sorts. A beer, gentlemen?
It's a bit early for a beer, but I'll take a breakfast if you're offering.
Vander's going to go for that. How much is a breakfast?
Give him 2 silver.
Okay, I've just deducted that.
Oh, so when did you become a fan of the Ungovernables?
Well, I've not been in town long, only heard bits here and there, but I do enjoy the stories.
I go every week. It's like it's the best thing you can do in this place. It's so entertaining. It's like they're fighting and you think that one of them's going to die, but they never quite die. It's amazing.
And so what was the fracas about last night?
I don't know. I mean, Bardal's always been a bit cheeky when it comes to the Bounders. You know, you can't imagine him ever really doing anything serious, but there's this inspector fella, right? Inspector McLeod.
Oh, yeah.
And he was absolutely convinced that he'd done something wrong, and so he brought as many Bounders as he could. Things got out of hand, you know. You don't square up to champion pit fighters without expecting some violence, I guess, but...
We see. So a failed arrest from the inspector.
Some people say that he wasn't actually trying to arrest them, that he was happy to kill them. He's probably furious that Bardal's got away, to be honest.
And where would Bardal go, do you think?
Probably to the mountains. You know, Grodsankir's massive, isn't it? So probably hold up there, maybe get in training, come back, win another silver sword, kind of thing he'd do.
I see. Well, thank you for your time and do enjoy your breakfasts.
You're not thinking of going after Bardal, are you?
I couldn't possibly say.
Look, I don't know you, stranger. You don't look like you're that steady on your feet. So if you are planning to head out of town or head towards Grodsankir, just be careful. There's a lot of beasties up there. I heard that there's a manticore around there as well. Quite dangerous.
Manticore, you say?
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry, are we kind of thinking that where the X marks the spot is sort of potentially somewhere in the same area as the place they were just talking about, the mountain?
I believe, unless I'm mistaken, it's going to be very close to the lake that we landed the airship in.
2 birds, 1 stone, like that?
Gentlemen, I think maybe it is time to grab some supplies, maybe, pay a little visit to our gnomish friends, head back to the ship, and up into the mountains. What say you?
Agreed.
I find this to be acceptable.
Vander, a quick question. I heard a mention of the Ungovernables and something about the Bounders. What do you make of that?
I think that is not the last we've seen of our inspector friend.
Could have been, couldn't it?
Yes, he's investigating something maybe a little larger and broader than he let on to us when we were on the steam runner. One to watch for, I think.
Maybe we should have dealt with him.
Perhaps we should have unleashed Dr. Sigmund after all.
She rendered medical aid.
Anyway, before we finish up our morning book group, can we have a look at the tithe document? Because there's something funny about that. There's something funny about it, and I'm sure.
Tock will retrieve it from the bag of holding, pass it over to Benny, and whilst he's doing that, actually Tock's going to take a look at a couple of the magic items we've retrieved. So there was a cat totem.
Yep.
Okay, Tock will have a fiddle with that whilst Benny's investigating the papers.
Cool. Benny, give me a DC 14 investigation check, please. And if anyone wants to help him to look at it, he can have it at advantage. What'd you roll there?
10.
At advantage as well. Good grief.
Augustus investigates. 22.
Benny obviously struggles to properly investigate the tithe document, and Augustus presumably snatches it out of his hand.
Augustus's investigation reveals incompetence.
This is all a matter for the nobility, clearly.
Benny will certainly hold no grudges about this.
Augustus, you have a look at the signed tithe documentation relating to a Lord John Flaggenstaff, alleged major of the Grand Army of Cantioch. It says that the tithe is paid in full, and it was paid in the year 1 KE, which you know is obviously the first year of the Kalian Empire. As you investigate very closely, you realize that there is another name that was on the document which has been erased and written over. You're able to make out the old inscribed name as reading Lucian Winter.
So I first of all explain that to the guys, and then now I remember that was the name on the letter that Vander found in a wall way back in like episode 2. However, I don't think Augustus saw that.
No, Vander didn't tell anyone about it.
Gentlemen, I see this as the name Lord John Flaggenstaff, but also that's overwritten the name Lucian Winter.
Ah, Lucian Winter. Yes. I remember getting mercilessly and roundly rebuked episode after episode for not picking up the locket, which has become the central dividing force in our party, if I remember correctly. How's my aim? Group?
Metagaming, 1 damage.
Psychic.
I mean, episode from characters in the story referring to episodes.
Okay, breaking no walls at all.
Ah, yes, I remember reading that name on a piece of paper that I didn't investigate further back where we started.
So you remember the name, Vander. Do you happen to remember anything else about what was attached to the name? Can you tell us anything about this Lucian Winter?
I believe there was a locket, and I believe the locket was left as a token of love from someone who would not be returning to their loved one. And now we have the name, not the locket.
And so, gentlemen, what can we make of this document in front of us?
Very little. I find human matters very confusing.
Me too, Tock.
I've read a fair bit of folklore, which will come as no surprise to you, as you know me as a well-read person and respect my opinions and broad range of knowledge on a variety of subjects. And I recognise the name Lord John Flagstaff from old tales of Cantioch. I think it's just a name that someone's chucked onto this document to cover something up. A historical figure rather than a modern-day one.
I see. I feel this rather makes the sin of not picking up the locket worse and worse.
So very quickly after the Empire brings up, within year 1, this person has their tithe paid off, which seems like the Empire likes them. If he thought it was an accursed island, then Lucian didn't like the Empire, but perhaps the unthinkable was to somehow join or collaborate with the Empire and therefore get the tithe paid off and potentially his name expunged and a new identity. Does that sound sensible to anyone?
Well, I have to admit, when I heard that he'd done the unthinkable, I assumed he'd chucked himself into the sea. But your theory is equally plausible.
Perhaps he considered an act of resistance against the Empire.
How morbidly afraid of large bodies of water do you have to be before chucking yourself in the sea becomes the act we know as the unthinkable?
Well, I would say that, killing oneself could be the unthinkable, but then he said, don't try to follow me, which makes me think...
Into the sea.
Well,
It's like if I go for a swim, though, I don't say, guys, I'm off to do the unthinkable.
the next time I go swimming, I'm going to turn to the people with me and say, I'm about to do the unthinkable. Don't try to follow me.
I have also done the unthinkable with Tick.
Oh, God, where is this going?
I crossed underneath the Roller God Sea, south of Ovik, to the north coast of the southern continent.
You can walk along the bottom of bodies of water?
I mean, we have seen him do that.
Indeed.
We've not seen him do the unthinkable, though, have we?
I think we need to be clear about what the
Small bodies of water is fine. It's large bodies of water is completely incomprehensible.
To automatons, it was thinkable.
While you guys are discussing this, we're going to very quickly jump to Tock, who has been studying the cat's head statue. Having spent enough time with this since finding it, you recognise this as a statue of Bastet, who is a lesser god of cats. This statue's eyes are amber, and the back of the head there is a small circular hole. Looking through it allows you to see out of amber eyes. It is a magical statue that allows you to see invisibility.
Ooh. Andy, as I was looking in, I saw we've also found a carved stone that has a flame, water, and half circle engraved on it. Tock will also investigate that, whilst the others are endlessly debating minutiae.
You study the stone with the 4 symbols on. This is also magical in property. It is a single-use magical item that allows you to summon a lesser elemental.
Our elemental in our airships, not lesser, right? Would that single-use elemental be able to power us for like a short distance, as almost like a spare tire elemental?
You could use it in combat as well, but yeah, it is, I suppose, if you want to reduce it to the mundane.
As long as we don't accidentally summon a mud elemental, particularly a lesser one, we just get a clod of mud. One-time use. Don't even get to keep the mud.
But it will henceforth be called the spare tire.
God damn it.
Let's give it to Rosalind to look after.
As you're sitting there enjoying each other's company, and learning lots. At the end of your table, there is a sudden puff of mist.
Did everyone see that?
Your cat glasses, Tock.
Tock looks through the cat totem.
Place looks exactly the same as it does without the cat totem.
He turns to Vander and says, negative.
Is there any sort of check or past knowledge or anything any of us can do to try and...
You can all give me Arcana checks.
13.
15.
9 for Augustus.
And 17 for Tock.
Tock, you have never seen this spell used, but you've definitely heard Tick mention a spell called Misty Step before.
Gentlemen, I think it may be time for us to begin our day's activities, given the latest development.
Find this acceptable.
Perhaps we should entertain the possibility that our destination is now known to somebody, because we've just discussed what we're intending to do today.
I suggest a visit to our gnomish friends to get the wood, then to the ship, and then into the mountains, with the stock for supplies on the way.
Agreed.
Agreed.
You guys step out of the Tipsy Tinker into the torrential rain which is hammering the city and head towards Gearhead. You guys have spent an hour or so around Slateholm in the pouring rain, hopping from one shop to another. Benny has bought himself a mirror, a grappling hook, a set of good boots, some oil, chalk, a new cloak, and a healing kit, while Tock and Augustus have bought themselves shields. Vander has added to his inventory with some soup and a chocolate bar.
Guys, you guys totally wasted your shopping trip.
This is why I got the shield, to hide whilst Vander eats the soup.
With the shopping out of the way, you head towards Gearhead's headquarters. With the rain lashing down, you notice that the familiar two guards are not at their post. This is the first time you've walked past and they haven't been stood there. The main door is open.
This doesn't look good, gentlemen. I think we should proceed with caution.
We send our canary.
Benny? Yeah. Send in the sacrificial lamb.
Vander, are you aware of a secondary entrance to this facility?
I'm afraid not, Tock. I'm only aware that Gearhead is a lovable gnome on the outside and an unconscionably appalling serial killer on the inside.
I vote we send in the kipper.
Tock will volunteer to lead.
Just for clarity, after your comments earlier, I wasn't going to volunteer anyway, so this is probably going to work.
Your silence made that abundantly clear.
With Tock at the lead, the four of you head into Gearhead's headquarters as a crack of lightning and a boom of thunder rain out around the city.
As we get in from the rain, Vander unwraps a chocolate bar.
Chocolate.
Benny,
Yeah,
Why the mirror?
they're good for looking around corners.
Oh, I thought there might be some clandestine approach to get your scar back into the story. My mistake.
he takes another bite of the chocolate bar.
Piss off, Vander.
I would watch a sitcom that was just Vander and Benny talking.
So would I. In the main lobby, the cage is empty and the entrance door to Gearhead's workshop is open a crack. There are voices ahead.
I will motion to Benny to take the lead on this one.
Yeah, it's definitely time for the canary in the coal mine.
Really, the canary.
Release the canary. I take out a little yellow flag and wave it. Benny, I think it might be I'm still wearing my chainmail.
Yeah, and?
Benny, go on.
I'm sensing a lack of cohesion in our team.
I get out my shield and hide behind it.
Tell me you need my help.
Vander rolls his eye.
Benny, we apologise for any rough words or sarcastic comments earlier. We would be deeply grateful if you would use your exquisite stealth skills, edge forward, and see what trickery is afoot here. Also, we apologise.
Tock will guide him by taking out one of his little tablets, and on it is like some helpful advice for sneaking and listening to them.
Giant suit of armour helps sneaky guy to sneak.
Yes.
Benny, might you be persuaded to go ahead despite our outrageous rudeness?
Benny sighs deeply and starts to stealth forward.
Stealth check, please. And don't forget you can add a D4 because of Tock's expert guidance for his tablet that just says sneak better.
Sneak well.
Oh, we're back in
Oh
one-man
god,
band
it's the brass
territory,
band territory.
10.
including a natural one.
Wow.
I mean, it is a natural one, but it is also still 10.
Starts to sneak forward and then gets out a trombone.
If I alert people, I did it on purpose because you were being unkind.
And actions have consequences. Very good lesson, Benny.
Peering in through the crack in the door, you can see the familiar bubblegum pink hair of Gearhead. She's flanked by her 2 doormen and is talking to a figure in black robes with a black hood, who himself is flanked by 4 bounders, one of whom you recognize as Angus MacLeod. Their body language looks tense, but none of them seem to look in your direction. Can I have a perception check, please?
14.
Where is he? The masked man asks. I have absolutely no idea. I haven't spoken to him in weeks. He murdered 2 bounders yesterday. You're telling me he didn't come straight here to you? I've only got back today myself. From where? Gearhead doesn't answer immediately. Who's this fine gentleman you're with then? From behind the obvious lines that have been set up between the 2 sides, a somewhat familiar gentleman steps forward in amazing white outfit, incredibly well tailored. I am Jurema Tamrace. Pleasure. I love your outfit. Is that Costa Curtis? No, it's Batistutas. Who he is isn't important. I ask again, where were you? I was procuring some wood for a project. What kind of wood is this? You recognize the voice of Inspector MacLeod as he reaches down and picks up a piece of the wood. Oh, it's pine. It's very light for pine. We tolerate your business because it serves our interests. But remember precisely who is in control here. Gnome. I must admit, I thought it was your sister who was in charge. Where is Tiara? The hooded figure raises a hand and a mote of fire flies out from his fingertips, and the piece of wood in MacLeod's hand is incinerated. Now look, I worked very hard to get that wood. I don't much like the accusations you've been throwing around here this morning. Your attempts at subtle intimidation may work on the common folk, but they won't work on me. Oh, Tavish, you don't know me all that well, so I'll forgive you for not knowing what happens when someone goes and upsets me. The masked man sends a mote of fire directly at Gearhead, who gets knocked back. Even with a smoking wound on her chest, she rolls back onto her feet, reaches into her pocket, and pulls out a small bell, which she rings. There is a loud crash from the opposite side of the room, and in bursts an enormous metal dog that immediately leaps on the hooded man. He's unable to react in time, and the dog begins to savage him on the floor. Gearhead's guards charge and attack the bounders. The man in white steps away from the combat. Within seconds, there is a full-blown fight.
Let's get in there, lads.
In there on Gearhead side, I'm assuming?
I head back to the group. I say, I don't think we need to get involved in this at all. I reckon we get out of here pretty fast. That's my vote.
Gearhead does have our wood.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be involved. I think best thing is we just leave.
We could send someone in to sneak and retrieve the wood.
No, absolutely not. No, not doing it. I'm out of here. Don't like it. Don't want to get involved.
I see. How unfortunate, because our means of travel is in that room. Let's assume bad things are going on in there.
Vander,
Yes, Tock.
I would feel bad to leave Gearhead to die.
I wouldn't. I don't think she'll die, though, and I think it makes sense for us to intervene.
Well, I reckon you lads go ahead and intervene, and I'll just make myself scarce, I think. Make myself scarce.
How wonderfully strange that sentence is. Well, I turn to Tock. On your lead, then.
Yeah, Tock already has spear in his shield, and will glance at Augustus before charging in.
Augustus mirrors Benny's earlier sigh, but is persuaded that we need to get in on this one, not least because the unmurdered inspector probably needs to be murdered.
Wow, we just have no good reasons for doing anything, do we? The body count isn't high enough. That's why we.
I just don't like to leave anyone unmurdered once they've annoyed us.
Goddamn loose ends. We need to tie these up. Okay, and Vander begins hobbling in the direction of the door.
Benny sees them going and sort of like does that thing, you know, where you're really indecisive and you sort of start to take a step forward and then take a step back and then take a step forward and can't really decide what to do. And then he takes his cloak and kind of, as best as he can, wraps it around his face so that only his eyes are appearing over the top of it. And you can't really see much of him at all, and follows everyone else in.
That is a fascinating move. Augustus would stop to think about this if he wasn't absolutely terrified.
Initiative checks, please.
Wow, 3 for Augustus.
12 for Tock.
9. Just can't roll today.
5.
Low on initiative, low on creativity.
Benny, you're going to miss the first round because you didn't go in with your fellows.
Fair enough.
Naughty Benny.
As you enter, you can see that the robot dog is savaging the hooded man, and Gearhead has moved towards him as well. We go to Tock.
Tock is going to rush the assistance of one of the gnomes. And he is going to take his spear and stab at one of the bounders in the back.
Oh, you can do it at advantage because you are flanking the bounder. Not that it'll help, obviously.
The ceremonial pointing device is out again.
That's right. Build him up.
Oh, god damn it. Okay, so with advantage, Tock's managed to roll a grand total of 11.
With the bounder's spear, you charge in to the bounder who is not looking in your direction. He's currently in a fight to the death with a gnome, and you plunge the spear forward, and it goes under his arm, completely missing him, and comes back, having done no damage.
Tock looks at the tip of the spear to see if there's blood on it. This is defective.
It may be automatons in disguise.
The bounder obviously sees the spear coming under his arm and
Freaks out.
turns around, draws his bladed club in the air, ignoring the attacks from the gnome behind him, and swings it at Tock.
That has no more effect than my spear had on him.
But your new shield is able to block the attack with aplomb, forcing him back. The other bounders begin to pile in on, and the gnome that you haven't spoken to is overwhelmed and killed by the bounders as they flank him, his small, lifeless body slumping to the ground. Vander.
I'm going to be a classic Vander. I'm going to hobble into the room and I'm going to push the guard in combat with Tock and the gnome out of combat.
That is a 3, which is a failure. Vander raises his hand in the air, and the bounder who's just brought his club down on Tock's shield is suddenly pulled out of combat with the two. Tock and the gnome get an opportunity attack.
Tock will roll without advantage this time. A 22.
It's a hit. Please roll for damage.
Finally!
Augustus faints.
For 6 damage. Tock literally just had his spear aimed sideways slightly, and it just yanked him straight into the spear.
An accidental wounding from Tock. The gnome is not as successful and misses. Augustus
I'll attack this gentleman with a rapier. 12.
is a hit.
Yeah.
Please roll for damage.
8 piercing.
Please tell me the story of how Augustus kills the bounder.
He stabs the bounder in the chest, and the bounder slumps to the ground.
Nice. Dead.
Dead as a doorknob.
The bounder in front of you looks furious.
Well, he might be.
So you see the hooded figure raises a hand in the air, and the well-dressed gentleman is suddenly pushed back 15 feet and lands on his backside, looking quite terrified. The hooded figure then raises his other hand as he gets back to his feet, pushing the dog off of him, and places his hand on the dog's head. Electricity suddenly crackles out of his fingertip, sending the dog into spasm.
God. Getting bad vibes from that guy.
Yeah.
Inspector McLeod swings at Gunda, the gnome that you do know, but Gunda is quick and able to avoid the slow and lumbersome attacks. And you can see Gearhead has got some tools out, and rather than focusing on attacking the hooded man, she kind of slides on her knees next to the dog and begins to twist her wrench around like she's doing quick repairs on the dog while it's fighting. And we are back with Tock.
Tock is going to move in behind the gnome and stab at the bounder with the spear again. 17.
Is a hit. Roll for damage.
4 piercing damage.
Tock, please describe how you kill the bounder.
Okay, as Tock's walking past, as the bounder will like parry his spear, he'll just punch out with a shield and just clack him straight in the head. The guy just slumping unconscious to the ground.
It's very nice. The bounder, who looked furious at Augustus, charges at him with his club drawn, swings, and Augustus takes one half step to the left, sending the bounder clattering to the floor. He quickly gets back up, looking slightly embarrassed at his failed attack.
Augustus returns the look of fury with one of amusement.
Benny, welcome to the fight.
Thanks. I'm going to have a little sneak attack at old MacLeod.
Dreaming of murdering him every day.
20.
Is a hit. Please roll for damage.
So it's 13 total piercing damage
Nice.
and a dexterity save to avoid being pinned in place.
That is 18 for dexterity.
I'll do.
So you move quickly along the back of one of the pews, pop your head up, draw Lorien's bow and fire an arrow, missing Gunda and piercing MacLeod in the stomach. He looks quite impacted by the hit.
I hide behind the pew.
Okay, Benny in the action. Vander.
Vander begins hobbling from pew to pew as he moves towards the fighting, gripping with one hand on the pew for steadying. He then turns in the direction and yells, "MacLeod!" Because why wouldn't you? And I cast Sleep.
So please roll 5d8.
21.
Attempt to kind of cast sleep on him to just put him down. But you see him kind of shaking as little purple wisps of your magics appear around his head, and you can see him irritatedly swing at him. Augustus.
I'm going to prod this guy with the rapier. 16.
Hits.
8.
Very nice. Tell me the story of how you killed this bounder.
With my eyes firmly fixed on the hooded figure who's fighting the dog, I just run this low-level grunt through and then step over his body towards my real prey.
Vander, as you irritatedly look at MacLeod, who's still standing after your attempt to put him to sleep, out the corner of your eye, you see a sudden wisp of mist similar to what you saw in the inn earlier, as a hooded figure appears out of nowhere.
Oh no.
She raises her hand at Augustus.
I believe we've met.
3.
A mote of fire flies out of her hand as Vander says, "I believe we've met," and the firebolt whistles over Augustus's head. "Cassis!" she yells.
Got it. Not a talker.
Augustus casts a look of utter scorn in the direction of this misfiring wizardess.
The hooded man in front of Augustus, suddenly irritated at the situation that's developing, looks at the hooded woman and yells, "Stop playing with your food. Get Tamrace out of here." And then turns round and once again grips the dog as electrical energy surges through his fingertips, kind of haywiring the mechanical dog. And it is MacLeod's turn. He's going to turn and attack Tock for 22.
22 will hit.
So that is a grand total of 7 damage, please.
Okay.
He brings the club down heavily, ignoring the defenses of Tock and smashing into his chest as a din rings out around Gearhead's headquarters. Tock, your retort.
Tock's going to have to stab him back with a spear, although
At advantage.
at advantage. I think we're in a bad situation here, guys.
Yep.
Tock gets a 21
Is a hit. Roll for damage.
or 6 damage again.
Having been smashed in the chest by MacLeod's club, Tock spins his spear around with a grace not normally seen from the automaton and stabs it directly into MacLeod's stomach. Now you see him wheeze heavily. Benny.
I'm going to have another shot at our friend MacLeod. 24.
Is a hit. Roll for damage.
10.
Very nice.
And a dexterity save, DC 14.
It's a fail. So the shot from Benny pierces MacLeod's left hand and actually drags him to the floor. You see him struggle, but he can't get up from the arrow that is currently pinning him to the ground.
My work complete? I hide.
Who fired that? Could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Vander.
Vander, realizing that there's now someone new in the room, turns and from under his cloak produces the heavy flintlock, which he levels in the direction of our new friend and just pulls both triggers. That's an advantage, isn't it? Because he's
Yes,
in the
it
right
is.
range.
Perfect range.
13.
13 is a hit.
Amazing.
Literally exactly what you needed. That is a terrible roll, by the way. Jesus Christ.
I'll take it.
Roll for damage.
That's 5 + 1.
Cool. So 6 damage. So yeah, so Vander, as described, spins on his heels, looks at the stranger, and without even stopping, his hand reaches under his cloak. The heavy flintlock appears, and with a deafening bits of glass and salt splash into the hooded woman, who shrieks in pain. Ah, you fuck!
Vander smiles.
Nicely done, Vander. Augustus
I will attack Scary Muck Hoodface. 22.
is a hit. Roll for damage.
11. And I would also like to add Divine Smite. 9.
For a grand total of
20.
Jesus Christ!
Ouch.
Augustus, you hear for a moment the little voice in the back of your head. Choose me. And as you swing your rapier towards the hooded man, a bolt of lightning seems to hit your rapier as you plunge it into his back. You hear him suddenly. You know that it's a palpable hit. The rest of you don't see the lightning bolt that hit his rapier, by the way.
The
Very
minor
nice.
disappointment, but I still feel pretty cool right now.
The woman in the red hood disappears in a puff of mist and reappears behind Augustus. She pulls out a dagger and attacks him for 21.
That's certainly a hit.
Please take 5 piercing damage. And can I have a charisma saving throw?
26. Natural 20. She's charmed, frankly.
She stabs you in the back and you feel kind of tight pain where the knife plunges into your shoulder. You sense that there's more to the attack, but again, the voice in your head, choose me. And the knife just slips out of the wound she's created. She begins to move.
Didn't she just move out of combat?
Yes, she did. She moves out of combat. Augustus, you may do an attack of opportunity.
15.
Is a hit. Roll for damage.
6.
Very nice. So without even looking, you can sense her moving away from you, and you swing, and the blade almost leads you directly to slash at the back of her legs. Now you hear her stumbling, but she continues to move towards Tiram Tamraith. The hooded man, with still crackling electricity, again yells, "Get out of here!" And he grabs the dog, and with crackling energy, he spins the head, and the head of the dog comes clean off, and the body slumps to the floor.
Big mistake in a room full of dog lovers.
He spins on his heels to face Augustus, and you can see a red flaming sword suddenly appears in his hand, and he rubs it around the palm of his other hand. I'm going to enjoy this.
Red flaming sword seems familiar.
Turning his back on Gearhead is not a good idea.
Quite right, she's a psychopathic serial killer. I mean, she seems lovely, but that's what we keep hearing.
You hear a short scream of rage, and then as you're staring at the hooded man, the bubblegum pink hair of Gearhead suddenly appears over the shoulder of the hooded man as she clambers onto his back, pulls out a knife, and just begins jabbing it into his neck over and over and over again as blood splatters everywhere. You can see her almost laughing hysterically as she continues to rain blows down on him.
Still enjoying yourself? Augustus inquires.
McLeod swings at Tock. Oh, for 17. So once again, Tock's shield blocks the attack. And Tock,
Isn't McLeod pinned to the floor?
His left hand was pinned to the floor. Does that impact stuff?
no, it just means he can't move. So his movement is reduced to 0. He can still do other actions.
I feel like the red one is going to escape. Okay, Tock is going to, instead of attacking, he's going to take out a small stone, carved coin that he's got with flame, water, and a half circle on it, and use it to summon lesser elementals.
Here comes the mud.
Which elemental would you like?
I will go with an earth elemental. and next to the Shadow Vanguard chap in the dark cloak.
Tock, the stone crumbles in your hand. The elemental opens his mouth like mud dripping. Every element of it is made of mud, and it pulls its dripping hand back and begins to launch 3 separate attacks on the Shadow Vanguard. The muddy hand smashes down on him over and over again, doing a grand total of 13 damage to him. He looks very, very unwell at the moment, with Gearhead on his back, stabbing him repeatedly on the shoulder, an earth elemental slapping him across the face with his muddy hand, and Augustus stood there with the divine might behind him. Lovely stuff. Benny.
I'm going to have a shot at the Shadow Vanguard as well. Just, get involved. Why not?
You pad your stats with a kill.
That wasn't in my mind at all. Upset that you would even mention it.
1 psychic damage for lying.
11.
Is a miss. Your arrow from the shadows, because there's so much chaos happening, it was going to be a long shot to hit anything in there, and it just whistles ineffectively to the back corner of the room. You going to hide to end your turn?
We're just assuming, yes. Assume. Yeah.
Vander.
I'm going to leap. I'm going to hobble round the benches here and into the center of the room. And then facing the Shadow Vanguard, I say,
Your kind should know when their time is done.
And cast Mind Spike.
Nice.
Oh, with a shattering 23.
Which is obviously a hit. Roll for damage.
And I've hit an 8.
Vander, tell me the story of how you kill the Shadow Vanguard.
I hobble into the center of the room, having left the support of the bench. Staring down the Shadow Vanguard, I raise a hand, at which point I enter his mind, shattering how he views the world and drawing on his memories of his training, which I know of the Shadow Vanguard is exquisitely painful. Racked by all those emotions, his mental capacity crumbles under the weight of the attack. He bleeds from every orifice and falls to the ground stone dead.
Brutal little twist at the end, the bleeding all of a sudden.
As he falls to the ground, bleeding from every orifice, Gearhead rides him like a horse down to the ground, still stabbing him in the neck, even though he is plainly dead.
I mean, from the rest of us' perspective, it looks like Gearhead got that kill.
Top killer.
That was, wowzers. Okay, Augustus.
Assuming that McLeod is now in a world of trouble, because we're basically a room full of, killer monsters now, I am going to walk up to nearly the woman who I think was referred to as sister. Augustus just basically yells to her, "Stop, you cannot escape."
She turns round, looks at you. You see her head tilt slightly to the right as she reaches up and removes her mask, revealing a pale but very beautiful young woman. And there's a small trickle of blood from the corner of her mouth, and she begins to laugh. And then she grips the fine gentleman, and a door appears behind them, and she pushes him through and runs in after him, and the door closes behind them.
Can I still move on and attack McLeod?
Of course.
Oh, only 12.
12 is a hit, just.
And 7 piercing damage.
Very nice. Yeah, so Augustus steps in, stabbing away with his rapier as McLeod's mouth begins to fill with blood, with his hand pinned to the floor.
And Augustus says, "My Nebuchadnezzar accent is flawless." Call back to the last episode. Jurek criticised my accent.
Classic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if we've seen any evidence that he recognised us, but he definitely will now.
McLeod desperately tries to swing with his free hand at Augustus, the new attacker, but his left hand being pinned to the ground really prevents him from getting anywhere. And he looks exhausted as he kind of gives up and basically remains on one knee, breathing heavily. Benny.
I say, we're 6 on 1 here. Are we carrying on? Or what's happening? Are we putting him out of his misery or what?
I wouldn't mind a word at this stage.
Will he yield?
I yield.
You have at it then, Vander. I'm just going to have a sit down.
Thank you.
Vander, as you move towards him, to your right, you can see Gearhead is still just stabbing away at the dead body of the Shadow Vanguard.
Yeah, so I look at that without really engaging with it. I move around calmly and sit down on the bench next to our downed inspector.
Gentlemen, I may need a moment alone with our friend.
I find that to be acceptable.
I'd say that this, weirdly, even though he was just being attacked by 6 people and a mud monster and a demented gnome, his situation one-on-one with Vander sitting on a bench would seem to be a lot worse. So Augustus is not keen to allow any torture to happen, but he's going to take just one step back and kind of keep a close watch on the whole situation.
I say, Greta, I think he might be dead. Let's go and fix your dog up or something.
She doesn't seem to hear you. She just kind of... she stops stabbing for a moment and pulls out one of his hands and begins to carve off fingers.
Well, I tried. I guess people express their grief in different ways, don't they? Yeah, amble away.
Vander.
I think it's time that we had a little chat, Inspector. What do you say?
I know you. You're Gary Pencil.
Yes, Gary Pencil, at your service.
And with that, Vander removes his face mask and places it on the bench beside him.
Wow, that's better.
Lords and heavens above. What's happened to your face?
Too much to recount, I'm afraid. It's how I acquired the skills I'm about to use.
What do you want?
But I'm going to lean in and start speaking with him in quietened tones, essentially outlining what I believe he wouldn't want to hear.
You explain very quietly and personally to him, and you can see the whites of his eyes get bigger and bigger. And actually, with your expert knowledge of the situation, you can tell that despite his appearance and his general demeanour, his tolerance for pain is not very high. This is what you would class as a very, very easy target for someone of your ability.
Oh dear, Inspector. Looks like you're out of road.
Well, what do you want?
I want to know what happened on the train first.
With the orcs?
Yes.
They're refugees coming from the deserts in the south. They were nobles of their kind. Dealt with them.
By dealt, I assume you mean they're no longer with us?
They are not.
I see. And why were you here tonight?
When the Shadow Vanguard tell you to be somewhere, you follow the instructions. Tavish was looking for Bardal Schultz. He's a local entertainer, fighter. Got into trouble last night, killed some bounders. It's unacceptable.
And the sister?
Tiara, another Shadow Vanguard. They're twins, quite demented.
And what does our friend she dragged through the portal have to play in this group?
His name is Tamrace. He's the head of the Tamrace Foundation. They're based in Middleton, in Alphon. They're huge contributors to the Empire, and they're hoping to come over here to Ovik in order to lay claim to the technology of the steam runner. I suspect they've been brought for negotiations with Gearhead, but the Bardal Schultz information tete-a-tete did not go as expected.
I glance over at Gearhead and then turn back.
I should say not.
She's proven herself to be consistently unpredictable.
I would agree with that assessment.
Again, glancing at Gearhead, who presumably is still madly hacking away at what must be now the goo.
Indeed. Stripping him down and cutting off various elements.
I'm starting to feel like she's trying to turn that guy into soup.
Yeah.
Tock's gonna have a look and see if it's like any like magic items or anything he's got on him before she like stomps on them, or...
That's fine. So while she's doing that, you notice Tock has also leant in unusually close and is just inspecting the dead body quickly. Not trying to stop it.
Normal stuff. Normal stuff.
Yeah, no, he's 100% not trying to stop it, just trying to like not get in her way too much and grab things. I'll send the Earth Elemental to stand imposingly.
You seem very different to the last time I saw you, Gary Pencil. Who are you?
Who I am is not important, though I am actually quite good with a pencil. Thanks for asking. I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, know this. Your death is certain, but your manner of leaving this world can either be peaceful or grotesque. Do you understand?
He looks at you wide-eyed but doesn't respond. You can tell that he's shocked.
Now, What aren't you telling me?
The Tamrace Foundation. They're going to rip off the gnomes. They wanted Gearhead dead. The Empire don't like Slateholm, but they like their technology.
Thank you.
And with that, I place my hand on the back of his neck and cast Mind Spike.
Please tell me the story of how Inspector Angus MacLeod dies.
I place a hand on the inspector's neck. He doesn't feel pain. He just feels a brief flash of memories and then passes away, the pain in his hand and the other wounds melting away as he loses consciousness. Vander stands and makes his way back towards Gearhead.
Tock, during your inspections of the autopsy that's happening at the moment in front of you, you find a silver medallion. It's circular and appears to have a strange symbol etched into it. You don't recognize it. You don't recognize the symbol or the design. You've never seen an item like this before.
If I notice Vander moving up, Tock will say, Vander, did you dispose of the inspector?
He succumbed to his injuries.
I find that to be acceptable.
Behind you, Gearhead has plucked both eyes out of the head.
Good God, she's determined.
She jumps up in the air and stamps on both eyeballs at the same time, and they squirt out juice in all directions.
Oh, God.
And then she stops for a moment, takes a deep breath.
Gearhead, a word, if you don't mind.
Oh, Mustang. Oh, sorry about that.
No, I apologize for interrupting.
That's fine. I think I've done everything I need to. Ooh, nothing like that to get the old blood pumping, is it?
I've got one hand behind my back, making the calmly now sign to the rest of the team.
No, I felt you were very balanced in your judgment, if I may say so, but thought you should stop now, otherwise you might blunt your knife. No one wants to have the chore of sharpening it again.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. You saw what he did to Spike. I mean, I just lost my temper there. You know what happens when I lose my temper?
I do, and emphatically, and I believe that liquefaction was the only reasonable response.
Oh, quite. Anyway, I lost myself for a bit, but I've got your wood. Good news.
That is good news. Such a lot of blood, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to take a while to clear it out.
I would say so.
I'm finding it emotionally difficult to shift my head into boat repairs after what's just happened.
Vander tries to get a bit of eyeball off his cloak.
I mean, presumably there'll be retaliations for this.
Oh, I shouldn't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should leave the world at this point to get away from
Not
this.
for you, my cunningly disguised friend.
I don't think they'll know that anything happened here. Me and Gunder will clear things up. Oh, poor Bigby.
What about ones that got away?
The red one and the impeccably dressed one.
Well, I think if they tried to say anything, there'd be some retribution towards them. The Shadow Vanguard may be feared elsewhere in the world, but this is Slateholm. This is my city.
Do you know why they were here, kid?
They were after Bardal Schultz. He was supposed to be doing your job, actually, before I hired you.
I see.
Honestly, ridiculous. He's just a fucking pit fighter. Absolutely lost their minds. I don't like being upset, and I don't like my authority being questioned, so I think Tavish here has learned his lesson.
Well, do make sure he's dead.
I suppose it'll make the cleanup easier, won't it? Because they'd be able to just pour him down the sink, presumably.
And Gearhead, I understand that above all you are a business gnome. May have some information for the right coin.
Always looking for coin. What's the right coin? How good is this information?
You're fair-minded, so I'm happy to tell you if you'll deal with me honourably.
Of course I am. What you got?
I thought you should know our inspector friend, before he died of his injuries, explained that there may be some attempts to steal the plans for the steam runner. Turns out that there's political intrigue around this, and I thought this information would be useful to one such as yourself.
That is useful. And it's feckin' annoying, too.
I imagine so.
That is very interesting. I'm going to need to put my best minds on it. And that's me, by the way.
Of course. I genuflect.
She reaches into her dungarees and pulls out a coin purse and throws it towards you. That's 150 extra gold there for you. Thank you for the information.
Always a pleasure, Gearhead.
I need to figure out how to play this. It's not going to be easy come summer solstice.
Going to be bloody, I imagine.
Well, I'm supposed to be getting a commendation. I don't know how that's going to work with the town race either. Interesting. I'll have a think about it. Anyway, you've got your wood, so you can do your repairs.
It is 2.5 weeks. That should be more than enough time to clear up the blood.
Thank you, Tock. We'll have it cleared up by the end of the day, but I appreciate your input on the matter.
Forgot we've only just had breakfast. It's been a very long day so far.
Vander, a word in private if you don't mind.
Certainly. And I begin hobbling up into the pews.
I think Augustus is going to just sit down in one of the pews and just take a moment to pray, yeah?
Actually, Tock will take a look at the dog.
Yeah.
That's called Spike, I believe.
Indeed.
Tock will have a go at trying to repair it or doing what he can to collect up the pieces and assemble them.
Give me a Tinker's Tools check, and Vander will come to you in a second.
I'm going to take a seat on the pew. It's been quite a lot of walking.
Okay, and you rolled a 16.
Yep. So it looks like simple automaton. Well, I say simple. It looks like automaton technology. So you're actually very used to it. It's obviously designed like a dog rather than like humanoid form. But you find that with even just a small amount of effort, you're able to kind of repair things. None of its crystals or anything are damaged.
Yeah.
It's literally just had its head ripped off.
Okay, I will delay reactivating or whatever until Gearhead comes back.
Vander,
Yes, Gearhead.
your new friend Tock.
Yes.
How much?
Vander sighs.
I was afraid you may ask this. Tock is sadly not for sale. No offence intended.
There's no amount of money that I can tempt you with?
Why, what obscene sum were you considering?
Vander's eye gleams.
Well, I'm sure it could come up with high 5 figures for him.
Vander stiffens slightly at the sheer volume of money being mentioned. Vander sighs heavily.
I fear I may be becoming emotional in my old age, but I just don't feel I can do that to a friend.
You've changed, Mustang.
For the worse, I know. It's sickening.
I'm not so sure. You might not be quite as effective an operator as you used to be, but I think you're probably a better person.
I adjust my faceplate.
Do remember we're in the area for the next couple of weeks. If you do need a hand of any kind, this little massacre was a freebie.
That's fine, and I guess I can find you up at your hidden airship, can I?
I guess you can.
Vander smiles in his crooked three-teeth way.
He gives you a little wink, ruffles her hair, wipes the viscera off her face, and gets up. I'll see you soon, Mustang.
A pleasure as always, Gearhead.
And I awkwardly rise and move back to the group. I noticed the earth elemental still just stood around.
It's just a sludgy man of mud stood in the middle of the thing.
Vander, be careful. You are stepping in Shadow Vanguard.
Oh, yes.
Vander slips horribly as he's trying to get out of the rather large pool of slaughtered human effluents.
Notoriously difficult to get off your boots.
And I share out the coins.
You have the wood?
Idea of like a magic trick of the mast length of wood just disappears into Tock's bag there.
Augustus pauses in the middle of the building, not in a puddle of dead person, and just looks up at the sort of altar. Is there an altar? Is that
Kind of a space where an altar would be, for sure.
and just waits. Obviously, he's heard voices here a couple of times. He just waits to tries to quiet his mind and see if there's anything else coming.
Okay, give me a religion check.
16.
You pray looking towards the altar, looking for more signs of anything, and you hear a voice in your head. Tyr is always watching and will always protect.
Okay. Augustus nods to himself.
Benny seems a bit sort of distracted, slightly stunned by the whole thing, perhaps by the absolute gore that he's just observed. But he seems quite distracted and just sort of wanders around in a bit of a daze, almost kind of like mechanically collecting up his arrows as he would after any fight.
Vander appears wraith-like at Benny's shoulder.
Benny, talk me through the moments before we entered the fray.
How do you mean, Vander?
You seemed undecided,
Vander tilts his head.
Well, we were stepping into something pretty serious, weren't we? And I sort of foresaw that, and I thought, Gearhead's fight, why are we getting into it?
Oh, your bow turned out to be pretty useful, did it not?
Well, it usually does, but bit of a scrape, wasn't it? Felt like things could have gone wrong at any moment there.
And the wearing of your cloak over your face?
Felt like right thing to do with bounders and stuff. Thought, we're pretty well recognised these days, aren't we? Might make a nice change to try not to be identified as people who've been causing chaos all over Empire.
Fascinating.
And your passive insight is screaming at you that he is lying through his fucking teeth. You've never seen someone tell a less convincing lie in your life.
It's almost like he's showing off his teeth.
Exactly. Nothing he said is true.
Man buys a mirror in the morning and hides his face by midday. How about the truth, Benny?
I don't know what you mean, Vander.
Well, think of a lie and then head in the other direction.
Okay. I suppose one lie would be your name's Vander Finnick and you've been straightforward and direct with us about all your motives and your history ever since we've met. That would be a good example of a lie, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah.
But you do know now that it is not the full truth.
That's true. We do know that. Yeah. Because you got upset about that newspaper article. Yeah. So I guess when something comes up in paper about me, that's we'll have a chat, shall we?
Mark this conversation down as not reciprocated then, shall we?
Now's not the time, Vander. I've just seen a man have his hands pulled off and his eyeballs stamped out. I'm in a slightly emotional state, so perhaps we could have deep and meaningfuls at another moment.
My old captor would say welcome to the real world at moments like that.
Well, I'm glad I haven't met him then.
You should be, friend.
As I hobble away in the direction, this time, of Augustus.
Augustus?
Hello, Vander.
I couldn't help but notice in that fight you appear to be stronger than you look.
Well, one doesn't like to brag.
Indeed. Deep in communion at the altar I see too.
Yes, my dear fellow. I must say I find the atmosphere in this place rather strange.
The blood on the walls will do that to an atmosphere.
Is there something strange about this building in particular?
How so?
You might say it speaks to me in a way I don't fully understand. I confess.
Voices in the dark. What do they tell you?
They say little, but they seem to be encouraging, beseeching almost.
How intriguing. A journey of some kind that you're on, but not one in which the path is yet clear.
Perhaps, and I wonder whether, while I felt encouragement, our friend Benny felt the opposite. Benny, I don't wish to pry, I just wondered whether, while I felt some strange encouragement in this place, whether you felt the opposite. You seemed uncharacteristically reluctant.
Yeah. Got a weird atmosphere, isn't it, here? Very, very strange.
I lean conspiratorially towards Augustus.
I'm not sure that Benny's a godly man.
Does that explain it, Benny?
What, that I'm not a godly man?
No, does that explain your unease here? Or was it something about the particular assembly of individuals?
I think that accounts for it, doesn't it? Yeah. Why not?
This is the house of Tyr, the god of courage and self-sacrifice.
I wonder Benny feels so completely out of place here.
Benny, was the man in the white cloak known to you?
Are we still doing this? Are we not giving it a rest? Are we standing in a hall full of gore, badgering me with questions just because I want its blood?
We could do it over a creme de menthe at the Glittering Pearl. Everyone there knows us.
On a picnic in the mountains.
Picnic in the mountains.
Perhaps we should get on our way.
Agreed. Benny, I apologise for pressing you in this scene of unimaginable, unspeakable gore.
Oh no!
It's gone foot. It's Al Gore in here. Perhaps we should go and enjoy Rosalind's finest soup, and perhaps pick up the conversation then.
With Benny reluctant to divulge any further information and getting slightly irritable, the rest of you leave the scene of gore in the former Temple of Tyr behind you, step out into the pouring rain on your way to the mountain of Grodsan Kir. And we'll end it there.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Benny Quez, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
Gentlemen, I also just confirm that my understanding that Domi has just brought in fantasy WWE into the story.
Yes.
No, it's a fighting pit. It's very real.
Actually, to bore you with the history thing, there's loads of evidence the gladiators in Rome basically became that over time.
It's what happened to the Spartans as well. Anyway, this is not a history podcast.
Or a politics podcast.
Or a politics podcast.
This is a nonsense podcast.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
This is ships and shipping. We've established that already. Hoist the main rudder, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.